My name is Justin Torres. I turned 18 on September 15th, and I thought that day would be about cake, maybe some cards with cash inside, and finally being old enough to buy lottery tickets as a joke with my friends. Instead, it became the day I learned that the people who raised me had been lying to my face for 4 years straight. It became the day I discovered that my entire future had been gambled away in casinos while I studied for SATs and wrote college essays about following my dreams. I remember waking up that morning feeling different. There is something about turning 18 that makes you stand a little straighter when you look in the mirror. I was legally an adult. I could vote. I could sign contracts. I could join the military if I wanted to. More importantly, according to the documents my grandmother had set up before she died, I finally had legal access to the college fund she and my grandfather had been building since I was born. $87,000. That is what my grandmother told me existed in that account during one of our last conversations before the cancer took her. She held my hand in that hospital bed, her skin paper-thin and cold, and she said, "Justin, baby, you are going to do something special with your life. Your grandfather and I made sure of it. When you turn 18, that money is yours. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise." I was 14 when she died, young enough that I did not really understand what she was telling me, but old enough to remember every word. My parents had always been vague about college costs, always changing the subject when I brought up financial aid forms or scholarship applications. "Do not worry about it," my dad would say, waving his hand dismissively. "Your grandparents took care of everything. You just focus on getting good grades." So I did. I graduated third in my class. I got a 1560 on my SAT. I was accepted to Boston University, my dream school, with a partial academic scholarship that would cover about 40% of the costs. The rest would come from the fund. $50,000 for 4 years sounded about right, leaving some left over for graduate school if I wanted it. I had it all planned out. That morning, my 18th birthday, I came downstairs to find my parents already awake, which was unusual. My dad normally slept until 9 on Sundays, and my mom would be doing yoga in the living room. But that day they were both sitting at the kitchen table, coffee mugs in front of them, looking like they had not slept at all. The kitchen felt wrong. Too quiet. Too tense. "Happy birthday, Mijo," my mom said, but her voice cracked halfway through. Her eyes were red. She had been crying. "Thanks," I said slowly, looking between them. "What is going on?" "Sit down, Justin," my dad said. "We need to talk about college." I sat. My stomach was already tightening. I knew that tone. It was the same tone he used 4 years ago when he told me Grandma was not going to make it, the tone that says everything is about to change, and there is nothing you can do about it. "Your mother and I," he started, then stopped. He looked at her. She looked down at her coffee. "We need to talk about your college fund." "Okay," I said. "I was actually going to ask about that this week. BU needs a deposit by October 1st, and I need to set up the payment plan." "There is no fund, Justin." The words hung in the air like smoke. I heard them, but they did not make sense. It was like he was speaking another language, one where the words sounded like English but meant something completely different. "What do you mean there is no fund?" I asked. "Grandma said there was $87,000. She told me. She showed me the statements. There was," my mom said quietly, "there was that much. For years ago, we had some financial difficulties," my dad said quickly, his words tumbling over each other. "The economy, investments went bad. We had to make some difficult decisions. You spent my college fund." I felt something cold spreading through my chest. My college fund that Grandma and Grandpa saved for 18 years. "We did not spend it," my dad said, his voice getting defensive now. "We invested it. We were trying to grow it, to make more for you. But the market crashed and—" "Do not lie to him, Robert," my mom said suddenly. Her voice was flat. Dead. He is 18 now. He is going to find out anyway. Maria. We gambled it, she said, looking at me for the first time. Your father gambled it away, and I let him because I am a coward and I did not know how to stop him. The kitchen tilted, actually tilted, like the floor was suddenly on an angle and I was sliding sideways. Gambled. The word bounced around in my head, trying to find a place to land, trying to make sense. You gambled $87,000? My voice sounded far away. My college money? It was not like that, my dad said, but his eyes would not meet mine. It started as just a few trips to Atlantic City. We were stressed. We needed a break. And I won sometimes. I won big sometimes. I was going to put it all back, Justin. I was going to double it, triple it even. When did it start? I asked. My voice was quiet now. Dangerous quiet. The kind of quiet I had never used with my parents before. When did you start stealing from me? We did not steal. When? My mom answered. A year after your grandmother died. Your father lost his job. We were going to lose the house. We took out $20,000 just to catch up on the mortgage. We were going to pay it back immediately. But I won that weekend, my dad interrupted. I turned that 20 into 35. So we figured maybe we could use the fund to build it back up, make investments, grow it faster than it was growing just sitting in that account. And you lost it all. It was not a question. The silence was my answer. I stood up. My chair scraped against the floor, the sound too loud in the quiet kitchen. I need to see the account. I want to see the statements. All of them. Justin, I am 18 now, I said. Legally, that account is under my name with you as trustees until today. Today it becomes fully mine. I have a right to see every transaction. My dad's face went pale. Son, I do not think that is a good idea right now. You are upset. Show me the account, or I am calling the bank myself. What is it? Capital Federal. That is where Grandma set it up, right? Neither of them moved. They just looked at each other with that look that parents get when they are trying to have an entire conversation with their eyes, deciding how much truth they can get away with not telling. I pulled out my phone. Fine. I will call them. Wait, my mom said. She reached into the folder on the table that I had not noticed until now. A manila folder, the kind that means official documents and bad news. She slid papers across to me. These are the statements. From the past 4 years. I sat back down, opened the folder, started reading. The first statement was from September, 4 years ago. Opening balance, $87,312.68. My grandmother's entire life savings, built penny by penny over decades of work as a school cafeteria manager. My grandfather's overtime shifts at the Postal Service. Every birthday check they could have spent on themselves, but put away for me instead. The next statement showed a withdrawal, $20,000. Then another statement, another withdrawal, $15,000. Then deposits, small ones, $3,000, $5,000. Then more withdrawals, larger ones, $25,000, $30,000. I flipped faster through the pages, watching the balance drop like a stone thrown off a cliff. By the end of the first year, $42,000 left. Second year, $19,000. Third year, $8,000. The last statement was from 2 months ago. Balance, $374.19. $300, I said. I could not get my voice above a whisper. Out of $87,000, you left me $300. We are going to fix this, my dad said. He reached across the table like he was going to take my hand, but I pulled away. I have a new job now. We will save. We will help you with community college for a year or two, and then you can transfer. Community college? The laugh that came out of me did not sound like my laugh. It sounded like someone else's laugh. Someone bitter and angry. Someone I did not recognize. I got into BU Boston University. Do you understand what that means? Do you know how hard I worked? You can still go, my mom said desperately. There are loans, financial aid, scholarships. I applied for scholarships that required proof of financial need, I said. And when they asked about family assets, you told me to report the college fund. You made me report $87,000 in savings. Do you know how many need-based scholarships I was denied because the system thought I was rich? Because the system thought I had my education paid for. The look on her face told me she had never thought about that. Neither of them had. I have been telling teachers I could not afford to buy new textbooks because I was saving for college, I continued. I have been working at Target for 2 years, 20 hours a week, saving every penny because I wanted spending money for school. I turned down going to prom because I did not want to waste money on a tux rental. And the whole time, you were at casinos throwing away my future. It was not like that, my dad said, but there was no conviction in his voice anymore. It was a disease, Justin. Gambling addiction is a real disease. Did you get help? I asked. Did you go to Gamblers Anonymous? See a therapist? Do anything except keep going back and throwing away more money? Silence. That is what I thought. I stood up again. This time I took the folder with me. I am going out. Do not wait up. Justin, please. My mom called as I headed for the door. We can talk about this. We can figure something out. You had 4 years to figure something out, I said without turning around. 4 years to tell me the truth. 4 years to stop. You waited until the day I turned 18, because you knew, that is, when I would legally find out anyway. You did not tell me because you wanted to. You told me because you had no choice left. I walked out and got in my car, the beat-up Honda Civic I had bought myself with Target money. I drove with no destination in mind, just driving, trying to breathe, trying to think. But all I could see was those numbers. 87,000 becoming 40, becoming 20, becoming 8, becoming nothing. I ended up at the cemetery. I did not consciously decide to go there, but my hands on the wheel knew where they wanted to go. I parked and walked to my grandmother's grave. The stone still relatively new. 4 years was not long enough for it to look settled yet. Hey, Grandma, I said, sitting down in the grass next to her marker. I am 18 now, legal adult and everything. The wind moved through the trees. A bird called somewhere in the distance. They spent it all, I told her. The whole fund. Dad gambled it away, and Mom let him, and now there is nothing left. $300. That is what 18 years of your savings turned into. I was not crying. I was too angry to cry. Too shocked. Too something that I did not have a word for yet. You told me not to let anyone tell me otherwise, I said. You told me that money was mine. But I was 14, Grandma. I was 14, and you died, and they were my parents, and I trusted them. What was I supposed to do? I sat there for almost an hour, just thinking, running through the numbers in my head. BU cost about $70,000 a year for tuition, room, and board. My academic scholarship covered $28,000. That left $42,000 per year. Federal student loans would cover maybe $30,000 total over 4 years. That meant I needed about $138,000 more for my 4-year degree. $138,000 that I did not have. That I would never have. Not from working at Target. Not from my parents, who apparently could not be trusted with money even if they had any. Not from anywhere. Unless. The thought came slowly at first. Then all at once, clear as a bell. Grandma's will. My parents were not the only ones mentioned in Grandma's will. I remembered the reading of it, sitting in the lawyer's office at 14, not really understanding all the legal language. But there had been multiple accounts. Multiple assets. The college fund was supposed to be just one part of my inheritance, the part one got access to at 18. But there were other things that I would get when I turned 21, or when I graduated college, or when other conditions were met. Things my parents had probably thought I would never think to check on, things they might not have been able to touch, because they required my signature as well as theirs, or because they were in different types of accounts with different rules. I pulled out my phone and called information. Yes, I need the number for Hendricks and Associates law firm in Millbrook, New Jersey. The receptionist who answered sounded bored. Hendricks and Associates, how may I direct your call? I need to speak with whoever handled Elena Torres's estate, I said. This is her grandson, Justin Torres. I am calling about my inheritance. There was a pause, some clicking of keys. That would be Mr. Hendricks, Sr. He is with a client at the moment. May I take a message? Tell him it is urgent. Tell him I just turned 18 today, and I need to discuss my grandmother's will immediately. Tell him I have reason to believe there may have been unauthorized access to accounts. More clicking. Hold, please. The hold music was classical, something soft and boring. I stared at my grandmother's name carved into granite. Elena Maria Torres. Beloved wife, mother and grandmother. The dates of her life, reduced to numbers. Born 1945. Died 4 years ago. 69 years of working and saving and loving. And in the end, what did she have to show for it? A grandson who was just discovering how thoroughly her final wishes had been betrayed. Mr. Torres? A man's voice, older, professional. This is Harold Hendricks. I handled your grandmother's estate. How can I help you? I need to know exactly what was in my grandmother's will, I said. Every account, every asset, every condition, everything. Of course. Are you at home? I can mail you a copy. No, I interrupted. I need to know now. Today. I am 18 as of today, and I need to know what I am legally entitled to. There was a pause. When he spoke again, his voice had changed slightly, more careful. Mr. Torres, has something happened that concerns you about your inheritance? My college fund is gone, I said flatly. The one my grandmother set up. $87,000. My parents gambled it away. I found out this morning, and I need to know what else they have had access to. I could hear him breathing on the other end of the line. I see. Mr. Torres, I think you should come to my office. Are you able to come today? Yes. How soon can you be here? I looked at my phone. It was 11:30 in the morning. The law office was about 30 minutes away. Noon. I will be waiting. I stood up, brushed the grass off my jeans, and looked down at my grandmother's grave one more time. I am going to fix this, Grandma, I said. I do not know how yet, but I am going to make sure they cannot do this to anyone else. I promise. The drive to the law office felt like it took hours instead of 30 minutes. My mind was racing, going over everything I remembered from that day 4 years ago when we sat in Mr. Hendricks's office and he read the will. There had been multiple documents, multiple signatures required. My parents had seemed annoyed by how complicated it all was, how many safeguards my grandmother had put in place. At the time, I thought she was just being thorough. Now I wondered if she had known, if she had suspected that my parents could not be trusted, if she had tried to protect me even from beyond the grave. The law office was in an old converted house, the kind with a brass plaque by the door and burgundy carpeting inside. The receptionist, an older woman with perfect silver hair, looked up as I entered. Justin Torres, I said. I am here to see Mr. Hendricks. He is expecting you, she said, standing. Right this way. Harold Hendricks looked exactly like I remembered him. Late 60s, gray beard, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He stood when I entered his office and shook my hand firmly. Mr. Torres, he said. "Please sit down. Can I get you anything? Water? Coffee?" "I am fine," I said, sitting in one of the leather chairs across from his desk. "Thank you for seeing me on such short notice." "Of course," he said, settling back into his own chair. He had a file in front of him already, thick with papers. "I pulled your grandmother's complete estate file after we spoke. Before we begin, I need to ask you some questions. You said the college fund is gone. Can you tell me exactly what happened?" I told him everything. The birthday conversation, the statements, the casino trips, the $87,000 reduced to $300. By the time I finished, his expression had gone from professional neutrality to barely concealed anger. "I see," he said quietly. "And your parents, they were trustees on that account until you turned 18? "Yes. Which means they had full access and authority over it until today?" "Yes." He leaned back in his chair, steepled his fingers under his chin. "Mr. Torres, your grandmother was a very intelligent woman. She came to me 7 years before she died to set up her estate, and she was very specific about her wishes. She had concerns, even then, about your parents' financial responsibility. She never said anything explicit, but the way she structured everything, the safeguards she put in place, it was clear to me that she was trying to protect you." "What kind of safeguards?" I asked. He opened the file, pulled out several documents. "The college fund was the only asset where your parents had full trustee authority. Everything else was structured differently. There was a life insurance policy with a death benefit of $50,000. That was set up with an independent trustee, not your parents. You are the beneficiary, but you cannot access it until you are 21 or graduate from an accredited four-year college, whichever comes first." $50,000. I felt something loosen in my chest, just slightly. It was not enough to replace what was stolen, but it was something. "There is also a trust account," he continued. "Your grandmother and grandfather funded it over the years with money from their tax returns, small inheritances, things like that. It currently has about $32,000 in it. Again, independent trustee, and you can access it only for education-related expenses once you provide proof of enrollment in college. $32,000 plus $50,000. $82,000 total. Just $5,000 short of what had been in the original fund. But here's what I think you are really going to want to know about," Mr. Hendricks said. He pulled out another document, this one marked with yellow highlights. "Your grandmother owned her house outright. She purchased it in 1972 for $38,000. At the time of her death, it was appraised at $340,000. She left it to you." My mouth went dry. "To me. With conditions," he said. "You cannot take possession until you turn 21. In the meantime, the house is managed by a property management company that your grandmother prepaid for 3 years of service. They have been renting it out. The rent, minus management fees and property taxes, has been going into a separate account, also in your name, also with an independent trustee." "How much?" I could barely get the words out. He checked another paper. "As of the last statement I have, which is from the end of August, approximately $48,000. The house rents for $2,000 a month and has been consistently rented for the past 3 years." I did the math in my head. $50,000 in life insurance, $32,000 in the trust, $48,000 in rental income. That was $130,000 that my parents had not been able to touch. $130,000 that was mine. Why did nobody tell me about this? I asked. Why did I not know? Your grandmother's instructions were specific, Mr. Hendricks said. She did not want you to know about the other assets until you turned 18. She felt that the knowledge of the college fund would be enough motivation for you to work hard in school, and she did not want you to feel overwhelmed by the responsibility of the other assets while you were still a minor. But my parents knew. Yes, he said carefully. They were informed of the full estate at the time of the reading. They signed documents acknowledging the terms. And they said nothing, I said. They let me believe the college fund was all there was. They let me work and stress and plan my entire life around that $87,000, knowing the whole time that there was more. I cannot speak to their motivations, Mr. Hendricks said, but yes, they knew. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, head in my hands, trying to process, trying to understand. Mr. Torres, the lawyer said gently, there is one more thing you should know. The college fund, the one your parents had access to, I have been tracking it per my obligations as the estate attorney. I received automated notifications whenever there were withdrawals above a certain threshold. I looked up at him. You knew they were spending it. I knew there were large withdrawals, he said carefully. I did not know the reason. Legally, as trustees with full authority, they had every right to access those funds. The trust was set up that way deliberately because your grandmother did not want you to be unable to access money if there was a legitimate emergency. So you could not stop them. Not legally, no. But he pulled out another set of papers. I did document every notification, every withdrawal, the date, the amount, and I made notes of some additional research I did out of an abundance of caution. He slid the papers across to me. Bank withdrawals, yes, but also something else. Printouts from websites, hotel booking confirmations, casino comp programs. I do not normally do this level of investigation, Mr. Hendricks said, but your grandmother was a kind woman who trusted me to protect you. When I saw the pattern of withdrawals, I felt obligated to at least document what I could find in public records. These are all things that anyone could find with an internet search. Your father is a registered member of the VIP Players Club at 3 different Atlantic City casinos. Your parents have had hotel rooms comped at the Borgata 17 times in the past 3 years. There are social media posts from your mother's Facebook, which is public, showing them at casino locations on dates that correspond with large withdrawals. I stared at the papers. Evidence, proof, documentation of every lie, every betrayal, every trip to Atlantic City while I was at home studying for exams and writing scholarship essays. Why are you showing me this? I asked. Because you are 18 now, he said. Because legally, you are an adult and you have rights. If you wanted to pursue legal action against your parents for misuse of funds held in trust, you would have a case. Not a guaranteed winning case, necessarily, because they did technically have legal authority over that account. But given the documented pattern of gambling and the clear violation of the spirit of the trust, if not the letter, you would have grounds to at least file a complaint. And if I did that, what would happen? In all honesty, probably nothing criminal. This is a civil matter, not a criminal one. But you could potentially sue them for the value of the funds that were lost. Whether you would win, and whether they would be able to pay if you did win, those are different questions. Your parents would need to hire lawyers. It would be expensive for everyone. It would likely destroy your relationship with them permanently, as opposed to what it is now. I said bitterly. That is for you to decide, Mr. Hendricks said quietly. I am not telling you what to do. I am only telling you what your options are. I looked at the papers again, at the dates, at the amounts, at the pictures my mom had posted on Facebook, her and Dad grinning with drinks in their hands in front of slot machines. Not a care in the world while my college fund burned away behind them. What I want, I said slowly, is to make sure they can never do this again. What I want is to make sure that every other dollar my grandmother left for me is protected. What I want is for them to understand that I know and I have proof, and if they ever try anything like this again, I will use it. Mr. Hendricks nodded slowly. That is a reasonable goal, and it is something we can accomplish. First, I will need you to sign some documents confirming your identity and your majority status. Then we will go over every single asset in your inheritance and make sure you understand exactly what you have, when you can access it, and what the conditions are. After that, we will discuss whether you want to take any immediate legal action or whether you prefer to simply ensure that proper protections are in place going forward. Okay, I said, let us do that. We spent the next 2 hours going over every document in my grandmother's estate file. The life insurance policy, which would pay out $50,000 on my 21st birthday or upon proof of college graduation. The trust account with $32,000, which I could access immediately once I provided proof of enrollment at an accredited college. The house, which would become mine at 21, along with all the rental income that had accumulated. But there was more. Small things that added up. A savings bond in my name, worth about $8,000. That would mature when I was 25. Some stock in my grandfather's old company, about $3,000 worth. A safety deposit box at the bank that contained some jewelry and other personal items, which I could access today if I wanted. Altogether, not counting the house itself, I had access to approximately $141,000 in various forms, most of which would become available over the next 3 years. Your grandmother thought of everything, Mr. Hendricks said. She wanted you to have an education and a start in life. She wanted you to be taken care of. She wanted me to have $87,000 for college, I said. She thought that would be enough, with scholarships and part-time work. And it would have been. Yes, he agreed. It would have been. So what do I do now? I asked. I was supposed to start at BU in January. That is 4 months away. I have the trust money, but I cannot get the insurance money until I am 21. That trust money is $32,000. BU costs $70,000 a year. Even with my scholarship, I am still short. Federal student loans, Mr. Hendricks said. Without the college fund being reported as an asset, you should qualify for need-based aid now. You will need to update your FAFSA, report the changed financial situation, and I would recommend reaching out to BU's financial aid office immediately, explaining what happened. You may be surprised at how understanding they can be. And what do I tell them? I asked. My parents gambled away my college fund. That is not exactly a typical financial hardship. You tell them the truth, he said firmly. You are a victim of financial abuse. That is exactly what this is. Your parents stole from you. The fact that they had legal access to do so does not make it any less theft. Any decent financial aid counselor will recognize that. I nodded slowly. Financial abuse. That was the term for it. It felt strange to apply that phrase to my parents, but it fit. They had abused their position of trust. They had stolen my future to feed an addiction they refused to acknowledge. There is one more thing we need to discuss, Mr. Hendricks said. Your parents, as of today, no longer have any legal authority over any of your inheritance. However, they still have the bank account information for the college fund. There are still $300 in that account. I would recommend that today, before you go home, you go to the bank and close that account. Transfer whatever is left into a new account in your name only. Do not tell your parents about any of the other assets. Not yet. Not until you are ready. You think they would try to manipulate me into giving them access? I think people with gambling addictions are very good at manipulation, he said. And I think you should protect yourself first. Ask questions later. I left his office with a folder full of documents and a head full of information. It was almost 3 in the afternoon. I had been gone for over 4 hours, and my phone had 17 missed calls from my parents. I ignored them all and drove to the bank. Capital Federal was busy for a Sunday afternoon. I had to wait 20 minutes to speak to an account manager, but when I finally sat down with her and explained what I needed, She was professional and efficient. I need to close this account and transfer the balance to a new account in my name only, I said, sliding the account information across her desk. She looked at it. This is a custodial account. You are listed as the beneficial owner, but there are 2 trustees with signing authority. I turned 18 today, I said. As of today, I am the legal owner, and the trustees no longer have authority. I want them removed and the account closed. I see, she said, typing something into her computer. May I see your ID, please? I handed her my driver's license. She compared the information to what was on her screen, then nodded. Yes, the account does transfer to your full control at age 18. I can close this account and open a new one in your name only. There is a balance of $374.19. Where would you like those funds transferred? New checking account, I said. No joint owners, no trustees, just me. Of course, I will just need you to sign some forms. It took another 30 minutes to complete all the paperwork. By the time I walked out of the bank, I had a new account with $374.19 in it, and the old account was officially closed. My parents could no longer access anything that was mine. It was not much money. $300 could not pay for college or rent or anything significant, but it was mine and mine alone, and there was something powerful about that, something that felt like taking back control. I sat in my car in the bank parking lot and finally looked at my phone. 23 missed calls now, voicemails, text messages. The texts started apologetic and got progressively more angry. Mom, Justin, please come home so we can talk about this. Mom, we understand you are upset, but you need to calm down and be reasonable. Dad, get home now. This is not how adults handle problems. Dad, you are being incredibly immature and disrespectful. Mom, we are your parents. You owe us at least a conversation. Dad, if you are not home by 6, do not bother coming home at all. I laughed at that last one. Do not bother coming home at all. As if they had any leverage. As if they had not just blown up my life, and then had the audacity to act like I was the one being unreasonable. I texted back, I will be home when I am ready. Do not threaten me. You do not get to gamble away my future and then tell me how to react to it. I did not wait for a response. Instead, I called my best friend Marcus. He answered on the second ring. Hey man, happy birthday, he said. Sorry I have not called yet. I was going to swing by later with your gift. What are you up to? Can I come over? I asked. I need somewhere to think, and I cannot go home right now. Of course, he said immediately. What happened? You okay? Not really, I said, but I will explain when I get there. Marcus lived 10 minutes away. His parents were divorced, and he stayed with his dad most of the time, a 3-bedroom apartment in a complex near the high school. His dad was a nurse who worked nights, so the apartment was empty when I got there. We sat in his living room, and I told him everything. The birthday conversation, the bank statements, the lawyer's office, all of it. He listened without interrupting, his expression going from confused to shocked to furious. $87,000? He said when I finished. Dude, that is insane. That is actually insane. Yeah, I said, and they just told you, on your birthday. They did not have a choice, I said. I was going to find out anyway as soon as I checked the account. They were just doing damage control. This is so messed up, Marcus said, shaking his head. What are you going to do? I do not know, I said honestly. The lawyer said I could sue them, but it would be expensive, and I probably would not win anyway, because they technically had legal authority over the money. But I have other money from my grandmother that they could not touch. Enough for college, barely. I just need to figure out how to actually get to college now. BU still happening? I do not know, I said. I was supposed to start in January, but without the college fund, I do not know if I can afford it even with the other money and loans. I might have to defer a year, or go to community college first, or something. That sucks. Yeah. We sat in silence for a minute. Then Marcus said, "You know what? Screw them. You are getting to BU. We are going to figure this out. First thing tomorrow, we are calling their financial aid office and explaining everything. We are going to go through every scholarship website we can find. We are going to make this happen." Marcus. "No," he said firmly. "You work too hard for this. You are third in our class. You got into BU. You deserve to go. And I am not going to let your parents' gambling problem destroy that. We are going to fix this." I felt something crack in my chest. The anger and shock that I had been holding together all day finally breaking. And suddenly I was crying. Actually crying. For the first time since that morning. Marcus just sat next to me and did not say anything, which was exactly what I needed. After a while, I got myself together, wiped my face, took a deep breath. "Thank you," I said. "That is what I am here for," Marcus said. "Now, have you eaten anything today? Because it is almost 6 and I am starving. Let us order pizza and figure out a plan." We ordered pizza and spent the next 3 hours researching financial aid forms, scholarship databases, student loan calculators. By the end of the night, we had a rough plan. I would update my FAFSA first thing in the morning, reporting my changed financial situation. I would call BU's financial aid office and explain what happened. I would apply for every scholarship I could possibly qualify for, even small ones, and I would take out federal student loans to cover whatever gap was left. It was not ideal. I was going to graduate with debt that I would not have had if my parents had just kept their hands off my grandmother's money, but it was doable. I could still go to BU. I could still get the education my grandparents had sacrificed for. I slept on Marcus's couch that night. I did not want to go home. I was not ready to face my parents yet. Marcus's dad came home around midnight from his shift and was not surprised to find me there. Marcus had texted him earlier to explain the situation in broad terms, and he just nodded at me and said, "You can stay as long as you need, Justin. Mi casa, yes, su casa." The next morning, I woke up to more texts from my parents, more demands that I come home, more accusations that I was being unreasonable. I ignored them and went to work on my plan instead. First, the FAFSA. I logged in and updated all my financial information, removing the college fund as a reported asset. The difference in my expected family contribution was dramatic. Where before it assumed I could pay almost the full cost of tuition, now it calculated that my family could contribute almost nothing. Next, I called BU's financial aid office. I got transferred 3 times before I finally reached someone who could help me, a woman named Sarah, who said she was a senior financial aid counselor. "How can I help you today?" she asked. "My name is Justin Torres," I said. "I am supposed to start in January as a freshman. I have a partial academic scholarship already, but I need to talk to someone about emergency financial aid or special circumstances or something. My financial situation changed drastically." "I see," she said. I could hear her typing. "Let me pull up your file. Torres, you said? First name Justin." "Yes." "Okay, I have you here. What kind of change in circumstances are we talking about?" I took a deep breath. My college fund was mismanaged by my parents. The money that was supposed to pay for my education is gone. I just found out yesterday on my 18th birthday. I have proof if you need it. There was a pause. "I am very sorry to hear that, Justin. Unfortunately, we see this more often than you might think. Can you tell me more about the situation?" So I did. I explained everything. The trust fund my grandmother set up, my parents' gambling addiction, the $87,000 that disappeared over 4 years, the lawyer's documentation of the withdrawals, everything. She listened without interrupting, and when I finished, she said, "Justin, what happened to you is a form of financial abuse. I want you to know that first. You are a victim here. What your parents did was wrong, and while it may have been technically legal, it was a gross violation of their responsibility to you." That is what my lawyer said. I told her, "You have a lawyer? That is good. That is very good. Now here is what we can do. Based on what you are telling me, we can file what is called a dependency override. Normally, students under 24 are considered dependent on their parents for financial aid purposes, which means your parents' income counts against you. But in cases of abuse, neglect, or other extenuating circumstances, we can override that and treat you as an independent student." "What does that mean for my aid?" I asked. "It means we would only look at your income, not theirs, which, given that you are 18 and have been working part-time at Target, would be very low. That would make you eligible for maximum Pell Grant, which is about $6,000 per year. It would also make you eligible for additional institutional grants from BU. I cannot promise exactly how much without running the numbers, but you would be looking at significantly more aid than you are getting now." I felt hope rising in my chest for the first time since yesterday morning. "How do I apply for this override?" "You will need documentation," she said. "A letter from you explaining the situation. A letter from your lawyer confirming the facts and the abuse. Any bank statements or other proof you have, and then a statement from a third party who can verify your situation. That could be a teacher, a counselor, a clergy member, a social worker, anyone in a professional capacity who knows you and can confirm that you are telling the truth." "I can get all of that," I said. "How long does it take to process?" "We expedite dependency override cases," she said. "If you can get me all the documentation within the next 2 weeks, I can have an answer for you by mid-October. That would give you time to make decisions about January enrollment." "Okay," I said. "Okay, I can do that. Thank you. Thank you so much." "You are welcome, Justin. And Justin, I have been doing this job for 15 years. I have seen a lot of students in situations like yours. You are doing all the right things. You are advocating for yourself. You are getting help. You are not giving up. That tells me you are going to be just fine." I hung up feeling better than I had in 24 hours. It was not a guarantee. It was not a promise that everything would work out, but it was a path forward. It was hope. I spent the rest of the morning working on the documentation Sarah needed, a letter explaining everything that happened, keeping it factual and unemotional, an email to Mr. Hendricks asking him to write a letter confirming the details of my grandmother's estate and my parents' misuse of the funds, a list of bank statements, and other proof. For the third-party verification, I decided to ask my high school guidance counselor, Mrs. Patterson. She had written my college recommendation letters, and she knew me well. I called the school and made an appointment to see her that afternoon. "Justin," she said when I walked into her office, "I was not expecting to see you. Is everything okay? How is the college planning going?" "Not great," I said. "That is actually why I am here. Can I talk to you about something confidential?" "Of course," she said, closing her office door. "What is going on?" I told her the story for what felt like the 100th time. By now I had it down to a script. The college fund, the gambling, the lawyer, the dependency override. She listened with increasing concern, and by the end she looked genuinely angry. "This is unconscionable," she said. "Your parents did this." "Yes," I said simply. "And you need me to write a letter confirming that you are telling the truth?" "If you are willing. BU needs a third-party verification from someone in a professional capacity who knows me. You have been my counselor for 4 years. You know my character. You know I would not make this up." I absolutely will write that letter, she said firmly. And Justin, if you need anything else, anything at all, you let me know. Do you have a safe place to stay? Are your parents threatening you? I am staying with my friend Marcus for now, I said. My parents keep calling and texting, but they have not actually done anything. Just guilt trips and anger. If that changes, if they threaten you, or if you feel unsafe, you call me immediately, she said. Or call the police. You are 18. You are an adult. They cannot force you to do anything. I know, I said. Thank you. She had the letter written within an hour. It was 3 pages long and did not pull any punches. She described me as an exemplary student who had overcome significant challenges to achieve academic success. She confirmed that she had known me for 4 years and that I had consistently demonstrated integrity and honesty. She stated unequivocally that she believed my account of what had happened and that she considered it a clear case of financial abuse. You mail this to BU along with everything else, she said, handing me the sealed envelope. And you keep a copy for your records. This is not right, Justin. What happened to you is not right. But you are handling it with grace and maturity, and I am proud of you. I left her office with the letter and a feeling that maybe, just maybe, I was going to get through this. Over the next week, I collected all the documentation Sarah had requested. Mr. Hendricks sent his letter, 5 pages of detailed legal explanation about the estate, the trust, the misuse of funds, and his professional opinion that this constituted financial abuse. I compiled copies of the bank statements showing the withdrawals. I wrote and rewrote my own letter until it said everything I needed it to say without becoming an emotional rant. I sent it all to BU's financial aid office via certified mail with tracking, so I would know exactly when it arrived and when it was received. And then I went home. I had been staying with Marcus for a week. His dad had been endlessly patient and kind, but I knew I could not stay there forever. I needed to face my parents eventually. I needed to figure out what our relationship was going to look like going forward. They were both there when I walked in the door, sitting in the living room like they had been waiting for me, which they probably had been. Justin, my mom said, standing up, you are home. I am home. I agreed. I did not sit down. I stood in the doorway with my backpack, ready to leave again if I needed to. We need to talk, my dad said. Okay, I said. Talk. You cannot just run away every time something difficult happens, he started. That is not how family works. You gambled away my college fund, I interrupted. You stole $87,000 that my grandmother saved for me. You lied to my face for 4 years. And then you had the nerve to act like I am the one being unreasonable for being angry about it. So no, Dad. I do not think you get to lecture me about how family works. We made mistakes, my mom said. We know that. We are not perfect. Mistakes, I said. A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill on time. A mistake is accidentally overdrawing your checking account. Systematically draining my entire college fund over 4 years to feed a gambling addiction is not a mistake. It is a choice you made over and over again. We are going to fix it, my dad said. We are going to pay you back. With what money? I asked. You could not stop gambling long enough to preserve what was already there. How are you going to pay me back $87,000 when you can barely keep up with the mortgage? We will figure it out, he said, but there was no conviction in his voice. I already figured it out, I said. I met with Grandma's lawyer. I know about all the other assets. The life insurance, the trust account, the house. All the money you could not get your hands on because Grandma was smart enough to protect it from you. Both of them went pale. They had not known I knew. Justin, my mom started. Save it, I said. I do not want your apologies. I do not want your promises to do better. I want you to understand something very clearly. That money is mine. All of it. Every dollar that Grandma left me, it is mine, and you will never touch it. I have already taken steps to make sure of that. The college fund account is closed. I have a new bank account that you have no access to. I have copies of every document, every statement, every piece of evidence of what you did. Are you threatening us? My dad asked, his voice getting hard. I am protecting myself, I said. The same way I should have been protected from the beginning. If you two want to go to casinos and throw away your own money, that is your business. But you are done throwing away mine. You are still our son, my mom said, and she was crying now. You still live in our house. You are still part of this family. Am I? I asked, because it does not feel like it. It feels like I am a resource you exploited until there was nothing left. It feels like you chose slot machines over my future. It feels like the only reason you are upset now is because you got caught and I found out about the other money. That is not fair, she said. None of this is fair, I shot back. But here is how it is going to work going forward. I am staying here until I leave for college in January, assuming I can still go. I will pay you rent if you want, since apparently I cannot trust you not to ask for money. I will do my own laundry, buy my own food, stay out of your way. We will be polite to each other. But do not expect me to pretend everything is okay. Do not expect me to forgive you just because you are my parents. You broke my trust. You destroyed my faith in you. And I do not know if I will ever get that back. I did not wait for them to respond. I went upstairs to my room and closed the door. I heard them talking in low voices downstairs, but I could not make out the words. I did not care. I had said what I needed to say. The next few weeks were strange. I lived in the same house as my parents, but we barely spoke. I got a job at a different Target closer to Marcus's place, picked up more hours, saved every penny. I filled out scholarship applications until my fingers cramped. I checked the mail obsessively, waiting for word from BU. And then, 3 weeks after I sent in my documentation, a thick envelope arrived from the financial aid office. I opened it with shaking hands. Dear Justin, it began. We have reviewed your dependency override petition and supporting documentation. After careful consideration, we are writing to inform you that your petition has been approved. I read the rest through tears. With the dependency override, I qualified for maximum Pell Grant. I qualified for additional institutional grants from BU, totaling another $18,000 per year. Combined with my merit scholarship and federal student loans, I would have enough to cover tuition, room, board, and books with just a small amount left to borrow in private loans. I could go to BU. I could actually go. I called Marcus immediately. I got in, I said. The override was approved. I am going to BU. I knew it, he shouted into the phone. I knew you would figure it out. This is amazing, man. We have to celebrate. We went out that night, just the two of us, to our favorite diner. We ordered too much food and talked about the future, about college and roommates and freedom, about building a life that was ours, not defined by other people's mistakes. Your grandma would be proud of you, Marcus said at one point. She would be so proud. I hope so, I said. I am trying to honor what she wanted from me. I am trying to make it count. You are, he said. You definitely are. I moved out in January, packed up my room, loaded everything into my car, and drove to Boston. My parents did not help me move. I did not invite them to. We had been living parallel lives in the same house for 3 months by that point, barely speaking, barely acknowledging each other. The night before I left, my mom knocked on my door. I almost did not answer, but something made me open it. I just wanted to say goodbye, she said, and to tell you that I am sorry. I know you do not want to hear it. I know you do not believe me. But I am sorry, Justin. I am sorry for all of it. Okay, I said. because what else was there to say? "Are you going to call?" she asked. "When you get there?" "Probably not," I said honestly. "Not right away. Maybe eventually. But I need space. I need time." She nodded, wiped her eyes. "I understand. Just be safe, okay? Study hard. Make the most of it." "I will," I said. And then, because some part of me still wanted to hurt her the way she had hurt me, I added, "Grandma would have wanted me to." She flinched, nodded again, left. I did not see my dad before I left. He was already at work when I loaded up my car in the morning. Maybe that was easier for both of us. The drive to Boston took 6 hours. I spent most of it thinking about everything that had happened. The birthday that changed everything. The lawyer's office. The letters and documentation, and fighting for what was mine. The slow process of accepting that my parents had betrayed me in a fundamental way, and that our relationship might never recover. But I also thought about my grandmother, about the sacrifices she had made, about how smart she had been to protect most of the money from my parents' poor decisions, about how she had believed in me enough to set up safeguards and conditions and trusts that would ensure I got the education she wanted for me. "I made it, Grandma," I said out loud as I drove across the Massachusetts border. "I am going to college. I am going to make you proud." And I did. I worked hard at BU. I maintained a 3.8 GPA. I got involved in campus organizations. I made friends. I found professors who challenged me and supported me. I discovered a passion for economics and financial planning, which probably should not have been surprising given everything I had been through. I did not talk to my parents much during that first year. A few texts here and there. An awkward phone call on Thanksgiving. Nothing substantial. Nothing real. They did not ask to visit, and I did not invite them. But I did go back to visit my grandmother's grave during winter break. I brought flowers and sat in the cold grass and told her about everything. About BU and my classes and my friends. About the future I was building with the foundation she had given me. "Thank you," I said, "for protecting me even when you were not here anymore. For seeing what I could not see. For making sure I would have a chance." The wind whispered through the bare trees. A car passed on the road beyond the cemetery gates. The world kept turning. I was 18 when I learned that the people who are supposed to protect you can be the ones who hurt you most. But I was also 18 when I learned that I was strong enough to protect myself. That I could stand up and fight for what was mine. That I could build a future out of ruins. My name is Justin Torres. I am 19 now. I am a sophomore at Boston University studying economics. I work part-time at the campus library. I have friends and goals and plans. I have a life that I built myself, with help from people who actually cared about my well-being. And I have my grandmother's legacy, not just in money, but in the lesson she taught me. Protect what matters. Plan for the worst. Hope for the best. And never, ever trust someone just because they are family if they have proven they do not have your best interests at heart. The life insurance policy will pay out when I turn 21. The house will become mine then too. I already know what I am going to do with it. I am going to sell it and use the money to pay off my student loans and start a scholarship fund for other students who have been victims of financial abuse. Something with strict oversight and protections. Something that cannot be touched by anyone except the student it is meant to help. I am going to take what was meant to destroy me and use it to build something good. Something my grandmother would be proud of. Something that honors the sacrifices she and my grandfather made. That is what it means to be an adult. I have learned. It is not about age or legal status. It is about taking responsibility. It is about protecting the vulnerable. It is about making hard choices and living with the consequences. I turned 18 and everything changed. I learned that family could betray you. I learned that the system did not always protect you the way it should. I learned that sometimes the people who are supposed to take care of you are the ones you need to protect yourself from. But I also learned that I am stronger than I thought, that I can survive betrayal and loss and disappointment, that I can build a life worth living out of the wreckage of broken trust. My grandmother left me more than money. She left me the tools to save myself. And that, in the end, is the greatest inheritance anyone could ask for. Thank you for listening to my story of growing up faster than I ever wanted to. I have left 2 more stories on your screen, both from young men who learned that sometimes becoming an adult does not happen at 18. It happens the moment your family needs you to be strong. Click on whichever one speaks to you. And if you want to join our community of people who understand what it is like to be forced to grow up overnight, that notification bell is waiting. Until tomorrow, remember, age is just a number, but courage defines who you really are.